again to the International Touring Car Championship. From Finland, we've come back to Germany, to the infamous Nuremberg Stadium, now being put to happier use as the home of the Norisring and races 9 and 10. There's a huge crowd here at the Norisring who want to see if this man, Manuel Reuter, the man in the black Opel, can extend his big championship lead. In 10 races, he's had 10 finishes in the top 5, but this man's his nearest rival, Hans Stuck. In Helsinki, he walked away with both races. And in Finland, there was disappointment for Scotland's Dario Franchitti. He hit the wall in race 1 while running a comfortable second. The Helsinki Fire Brigade were also kept busy. Several of these super complex ITC cars burst into flames. Fortunately, it was only the machinery that suffered any injury. Well, here at the Norisring, the Opels have had an excellent practice. Uwe Altsson and teammate Klaus Ludwig make up the front row of the starting grid. Behind them on row 2, Manuel Reuter, the championship leader, and the Alfa Romeo of Stefano Modena. Here they come on their pace lap, and we've got a camera mounted in Reuter's front suspension, so we can see just how hard his brakes have to work. Now, at the front, the 2 Canaries, that's the 2 yellow Zack-Speed Opels of Uwe Altsson on pole position on the left, and Klaus Ludwig on the right. The lights are green. They're going down into the tight first corner of the Norisring, and on the inside it's going to be Klaus Ludwig who goes ahead, and Manuel Reuter behind him in the back car has hit him, clouted him pretty hard, but he's still there in second place. There's an Alfa in fourth place. That must be Stefano Modena, and the bonnet's gone on Manuel Reuter's car. He's lost his bonnet. He's still in second place, but it's Klaus Ludwig leading. It's Manuel Reuter in second place. It's Uwe Altsson third. Opels 1, 2, 3. But what difference is that missing bonnet going to make to the championship leader, Manuel Reuter? It quite clearly happened when he left his braking very, very late for that first hairpin. You could see that the Opel actually hit Ludwig's car quite hard. Hasn't done any damage to Ludwig, who started to ease away a little bit, but Reuter still has that second place. Altsson in the other yellow Opel is third. It's Modena's Alfa that is fourth. Here's the replay. The bonnet goes up in the air. It hits Dario Franchitti's Mercedes, and then hits Jan Magnussen's white Mercedes quite hard, and Reuter's second place is under threat. Altsson is getting alongside, nudging through on the left as they come into that first tight hairpin, and he's through, and it's Modena going through too as well. Modena is alongside, and it's Opel without bonnet versus Alfa Romeo for third place. Modena is just nosing ahead third, but there's Manuel Reuter getting it back again. They're travelling with Reuter. And at the replay, look how Altsson is able to squeeze by on the inside of that very tight left-hand hairpin, but Modena hasn't hung on to that place. Modena demoted once again to fourth, but while the 2 Zack-Speed Opels get away at the front, Reuter is quite clearly, with his inferior aerodynamics, holding up the cars behind him. Modena in the Alfa, JJ Noto in the Opel, then a string of Mercedes pursuing them. And still Reuter hangs on to third, with Stefano Modena, former Formula 1 driver himself, looking one side and then the other, trying to find the gap in the four-wheel drive Alfa. And he's tucked in behind. Now he has a little look at down as he comes down alongside through the right-hand curve, but there's a left-hander following it, and he's in the right place. He's going through. He does it. Stefano Modena takes the Alfa Romeo up to third place. It's Opels 1, 2, it's Alfa Romeo 3, it's Opels 4, 5. Then we've got a string of Mercedes with Schneider 6, Franchitti 7th, Magnussen 8th. But now Modena starting to ease away a little bit from Reuter, and Reuter's got Lato's Opel on one side and Schneider's Mercedes on the other, and they both want that place. This tight Norisring circuit giving us lots of action with these tight hairpins at the end of the long straights, braking absolutely at a premium, but I think Lato is getting ready to challenge. Lato lining up to get past on the inside. You can't see it from here, but he's done it. Lato gets past Manuel Reuter, goes away, and now Dario Franchitti's got past Schneider, and his Mercedes is going alongside. Dario Franchitti charging up, leaving his braking very, very late there, and Franchitti in the number 2 silver Mercedes goes past as well. We're now seeing the penalty for Manuel Reuter, the championship leader, as he has less downforce in the corners at the front. He has less maximum speed down the straights, but he's still in there working hard, sawing away at the wheel, going so close to the walls. Meanwhile, a visitor for the Mercedes pit, that's Kurt Tim, who's coming in, I think, to get more tyres, and those two leading Opels already among the back markers, with Klaus Ludwig getting really harried by his teammate, Uwe Altzen. It was Altzen who started from pole position. It was Ludwig who got the jump at the start, but there's an Opel in trouble. Yannick Dalmas looks as though he's got broken front suspension. He's almost losing the wheel, and the front of the car's alight. Quick work in the Opel pit. They're getting the fire out, but I don't think we'll be seeing anything more of Yannick Dalmas in this race. Meanwhile, the leaders are among the back markers. Jason Watt in the white Alfa being caught by this battle for the lead, and even though these are the two Zakspeed teammates, they're both battling, and it's still Klaus Ludwig, the senior man of the team, with the young apprentice, the very rapid young Uwe Altzen, putting the pressure on Klaus Ludwig, and they're elbowing their way past Jason Watt's white Alfa. Jason Watt keeps over to the right and out of the way, and there's another Alfa in trouble. That's Christian Danner, and Christian Danner's hit the barriers very hard indeed, bounced off them backwards. We see it all in agonizing slow motion, but the German ex-Formula 3000 champion, as we ride with him, goes into retirement. He couldn't get it slowed for that left-hander. A lot of people seem to be in braking problems here. It's a particular factor of this circuit, and there's Nicola Marini. He's brought the Martini Racing Alfa in with smoking front brakes, and he is out. But the Opels battle on, and still Manuel Reuter in 6th place now. Schneider's gone past him, but Hans Stuck is challenging in the other Keke Rosberg car. The front brakes glowing red hot as he goes into that left-hand hairpin, but he's holding Hans Stuck off for the time being anyway. And Van Ommen in the Mercedes clouting the barrier behind him. It's getting very slippery here. It's been a long race, and that's Jan Magnussen in the wall. Jan Magnussen has had an enormous accident at the end of the long straight, trying to slow the white Mercedes from 175 miles an hour down to about 45. They're trying to get him out. They've taken the back door off the car because he's still in that car, and he's moved the concrete barrier a very long way. So while the course workers try to get Jan Magnussen out of that car, fortunately only a small fire, the yellow flag's waving. Of course, the two triumphant Zakspeed Opels go on their way, with Klaus Ludwig having hung on to this lead ahead of Uwe Altzen, and we're getting messages that Jan Magnussen is not badly hurt. They've got him out of the car, I believe, but it looked like complete brake failure for his Mercedes at the end of that long straight. A terrifying accident for him, but we gather he's all right, and the Opels storm on. This is the final lap, and it's now that Uwe Altzen is going to have to attack his teammate if he wants to have any hope of winning this race. They've got Ellen Law's slower Mercedes to lap, and Uwe Altzen is tucked in on the inside. The checkered flag is waiting, and he comes up on the inside, and just Klaus Ludwig gets to the line first. Uwe Altzen almost alongside. Stefano Modena is third for Alfa, and Manuel Reuter does hold off Hans Stuck for 6th place. Meanwhile, there is Jan Magnussen. He's out of the car, badly shaken, but he seems otherwise okay. Very fortunate young man. The Mercedes crew obviously very concerned. And there's the overall result, with Franchitti salvaging 5th place for Mercedes, but a 1-2 for the Zakspeed Opels. And there's a very happy man. There is Klaus Ludwig. He's done the job in the first of the two races today in superb style and made it look awfully easy. Well, while the cars prepare for race 2 here at the Norisring, let's catch up on the Formula 3000 Championship. After Kenny Brack's win at the Nürburgring, the circus has come to the superb French street circuit of Pau. On pole position, Tom Christensen from Denmark on the left of the picture, Jörg Müller of Germany on the outside, Kenny Brack, the championship leader, third on the grid ahead of Laurent Redon of France, and a disastrous start. The red lights went out, but the green light didn't come on. Quite a shambles. It's really taken Tom Christensen by surprise. He's right down in 5th place. Müller leads, it's Brack in 2nd place, Laurent Redon is 3rd. In 4th place, it's David Dussau, the local boy from here in Pau, ahead of Christensen and Gueros and the rest. Under the bridge, from the shade to the bright sunshine once more, and Müller and Brack are starting to pull away from the rest. And it's Müller and Brack who are going to set their authority on this race while all the excitement goes on behind them through the streets of Pau. Tom Christensen very frustrated back in 5th place when he had a well-deserved pole position. But Jörg Müller, a real street circuit specialist, he's won the Monaco Formula 3 race. He's also won the daunting Formula 3 race round the streets of Macau, the little Portuguese colony on the Chinese coast, and that's one of the tightest circuits of all. And he's starting to move away, with Kenny Brack holding off third man Laurent Redon. In fact, a battle developing between Redon, David Dussault and Tom Christensen. That is Mark Goossens in the pits. His car's been misfiring, but this third-place battle, Redon is third, David Dussault fourth, and the frustrated Tom Christensen trying to make up time in fifth place. They're going through that tight right-hander up the hill towards the park. Fourth man Dussault holding off Christensen. Christensen running a bit wide on that left-hander. He hits the barrier on the right, barrier on the left, and his race is run. As Müller leads, Jean-Philippe Belloc has passed Dussault. He's now on Redon's tail, elbows his way through on the inside. He's all right, but poor Redon has to struggle on with suspension damage, and I think he's driving towards the pits and to retirement. So Belloc hangs on to third place, but his front wing is damaged because of that collision with Redon. And Dussault, David Dussault, is right on his tail now. The local boy being cheered on by the crowd. Dussault looking for a way past Belloc. Belloc's trying to block him on every corner. The French crowd getting tremendously excited to see their local boy pushing so hard. This is the battle for third place. Going up the hill, Dussault goes for a gap. Belloc blocks him once more, and Dassault's in the barriers. Dussault in the barriers and out of the race. Meanwhile, Jörg Müller wins the 56th Pau Grand Prix for Germany. Kenny Brack is second. They're now the joint championship leaders. And the surprise third from Brazil, Ricardo Zonta in the red on the right. He can barely believe it. Welcome back to the Norisring for race 2. Both the Martini Alphas starting from the pit lane after their race 1 braking problems, but the grid lined up in the race 1 finishing order, the two yellow Opels at the front, and as the lights go green, it's Klaus Ludwig who gets ahead of Uwe Altsson, and look at Franchitti coming down the outside. Look at the silver Mercedes forcing its way up. Franchitti is third. Franchitti is third, but that's JJ Leto challenging him on the inside. Opels 1 and 2, but Leto and Franchitti absolutely side by side as they go round that first hairpin. It's Leto who has got into third place as Klaus Ludwig moves away into the lead. Altsson second, Leto is third, but Dario Franchitti driving like a man possessed in fourth place. He is flying the Mercedes flag in among all these Opels because Stuck is fifth. Then there's one of the Alphas, it must be Stefano Modena, and then it's the ever-present Manuel Reuter who is next up. He's got a bonnet back again for race 2, and in 8th place it's Oliver Gavin. So the British drivers are 4th, that's Franchitti in the Mercedes, and 8th, that's Oliver Gavin in the Opel as they come streaming down the straight. There's another tight hairpin coming up, and this is where the overtaking's going to take place. I'm sure it is indeed Dario Franchitti who leaves his braking, and possibly later he goes off. He goes completely. How did they not collide? I cannot believe as Dario Franchitti comes back into the race. He's there now with Oliver Gavin. It's Gavin and Franchitti side by side. They go into the S-bend that follows. Franchitti going through. Gavin fights back. Gavin's on the inside for the left-hander, and Franchitti's off. Franchitti's in the wall. And Mercedes-Benz will not be pleased with that. He left his braking too late. How he didn't take out Altsson and Leto both at once, I will never know. He missed both of them by inches. Just missed the back of Altsson, just missed the nose of Leto's car, got his car stopped, turned round, rejoined. Then he comes out alongside Oliver Gavin, and the two British drivers collide with one another. Franchitti is in the wall, and it looks as though there is some damage also on the Opel, but Franchitti hit that wall extremely hard. Yes, there is indeed. He's doing a Manuel Reuter. He's lost his bonnet. So Oliver Gavin, just as Manuel Reuter did in race 1, Oliver Gavin races on, but he's lost his bonnet. He's lost a couple of places, I think. Ludwig, of course, still the leader from Altsson. Leto third, Modena in the Alpha fourth from Stuck and Reuter, and Gavin has indeed dropped now to 9th place. The battle is really on for 4th. Modena, there he is, with Hans Stuck and Manuel Reuter in the black car, and then the Mercedes of Van Ommen and Schneider on his tail. You can see the bonnetless Opel chasing on, which is Gavin, ahead of Alex Wurz, Fisichella and Elin Law. but the ever-present black Opel of Manuel Reuter in 6th place, and Manuel Reuter has had a most unpleasant setback in the gap between the two races. An advertising hoarding fell on him, damaged his leg quite severely. He's in considerable pain and discomfort. And there's a black flag for Oliver Gavin. They're going to have to bring Oliver Gavin in. I suspect that's probably because the officials have decided. There he is. He's getting a 10-second stop-go penalty. He's not allowed to replace his bonnet. He has to be held for 10 seconds. They bring him in, hold him for 10 seconds, then they send him out. And that is a penalty because the officials have decided that it was Oliver Gavin's fault that Dario Franchitti went into the wall. And I'm sure they're going to be arguing about that for a long time after this race is over. Fastest lap posted to Bernd Schneider. He's in 8th place in the silver Mercedes. He's on the tail of Van Ommen's black Mercedes. In fact, he's lining up to pass it. He gets through on the inside. He's alongside him. They're both on the brakes, and Schneider goes through. Schneider is 7th, Van Ommen 8th. Alex Wurz in his Opel is in 9th place. And now it's Modena who's under pressure from Hans Stuck. They're both chasing JJ Leto, and Hans Stuck pushing Stefano Modena in the Alfa very hard indeed. Modena once again being the star of the Alfa team at this race, but Stuck goes through on the inside. Runs a bit wide as he comes out. Modena has a little look on the inside, but decides he's not going to do it. So it's now Stuck up to 4th, Modena demoted to 5th, and on his tail it's Manuel Reuter, and Manuel Reuter being pushed hard by Schneider. Once again, the Norisring providing tremendous racing. There are the two Rosberg Opels. There's Modena fighting back in the red Alfa, and then the black Opel being pushed by the silver Mercedes of the man who's just set the fastest lap. That's Bernd Schneider, Dario Franchitti's teammate. So the two yellow Zack-Speed Opels comfortably out on their own in front. JJ Leto a lonely 3rd in the first of the Rosberg Opels. Hans Stuck's Rosberg Opel is 4th. Stefano Modena in the Alfa 5th, with Reuter being pushed very hard. This is Reuter's brake white hot before it cools to red, and as the Mercedes crew follow the race, the Alfa is slipping back. Reuter's passed it, and now Bernd Schneider goes by as Stefano Modena slips back. Is this a repeat of the braking problems that these Alfas have been having? In fact, he leaves his braking very, very late, goes wide at the hairpin. Not only does Schneider go by, but so does Van Ommen, and Alex Wurz's Opel is almost on top of him. These Alfa Romeos have had a terrible time wearing their brakes out in this race. In fact, it's been a hard race for everyone as far as brakes are concerned. We now learn that Jan Magnussen's accident, as we watch the replay of that wide, wild slide of the almost completely brakeless Stefano Modena, Jan Magnussen's horrifying Mercedes accident in the first race happened when his left front brake literally exploded as he hit the brakes going into the tight hairpin. Now, Kurt Tim's got a problem. Something's all wrong at the front of that car, and he's in the barriers. Kurt Tim hits the barriers, some damage at the front of the car, and then he clouts the barriers with the back. Now, Alessandro Nannini's been a lot slower than Modena, but he doesn't seem to have any brakes left at all. Twice winner in Portugal, but he's not going to be a winner today. In fact, he's going into the pit lane, and I think his race is run. And there's Nicola Norini in the other Martini Alfa. Great problems throughout the Alfa team. They simply can't cope with the tremendous punishment of these hairpins at the end of the very long straights here at the Norisring. Another miserable day for Nicola Norini. But we ride with Manuel Reuter. In front of him is Hans Stuck. Hans Stuck is 4th. Manuel Reuter, who's been so consistent throughout this year's ITC Championship, he's never yet finished out of the top 6. And ahead of him, the 5th place man, Stuck, and Reuter's trying to catch him. He's got a lapped Mercedes behind him in his mirrors, but Reuter closing on Hans Stuck, and there once more you see how hard these brakes work. They go white hot and then cool to red hot as they come out of the corner. But Manuel Reuter right on Hans Stuck's tail now. Stuck, the comprehensive winner in Finland, but Reuter, the comprehensive leader of the championship, has his eyes on more points. It was 0.6 of a second when they crossed the start-finish line, but it's less than that now, I would think. And what a year it's been for Manuel Reuter. Just last weekend, he was in France winning the Le Mans 24 Hours with Alex Wurz for Porsche. So a great year for Manuel Reuter, but he's still charging, and no ill effects from his hard weekend's work, a 24-hour race last weekend, as he puts the pressure on Stuck. Still the two Zack-Speed Opels well out in front. Still Leto a fairly comfortable third. There's that battle between Stuck and Reuter, with Schneider getting the Mercedes into the top 6. And look at that brake on Reuter's car. Reuter in 5th place, pursuing Stuck, leaving his braking absolutely as late as he can. And it does seem that the Opel's brakes are standing up to the job. It's the Alphas that have had such a tremendous problem, and Reuter actually making up a 1/10 of a second on Stuck there, just on that section of the course. Reuter looking for 1/5 of a second here and 1/10 of a second there, and there's another Alpha in braking problems. That was Fisichella. They're coming up to lap him, but he is lurching on his way with smoking brakes to the pit lane. Yet another Alpha falls foul of this circuit. Fisichella in the pit lane, and I would suspect he too is out of the race. A disastrous day for Alpha. Stefano Modena has been the Alpha star, but his brakes are now smoking. He is going slower and slower. He was in 3rd place in the early stages. He's now in 9th place, and he's struggling on to the finish. He's trying to bring his Alpha to the finish, but he's being passed by car after car, and it looks as though he's got absolutely no brakes left on that car whatsoever. That's Ellen Law, who has managed to get her Mercedes up into 9th place, benefiting from others' problems. But there goes Uwe Altsen lapping Ellen Law, as over the start-finish line goes leader Ludwig. Altsen in 2nd place. JJ Leto is a distant 3rd. This is the final lap as Ludwig goes through that tight left-hand hairpin. Just 2.5 seconds now ahead of Altsen, so he's eased away from his young teammate. JJ Leto a further 9 seconds or so behind, and still Stuck and Reuter running very, very close indeed. Still Stuck fighting to hold on to his 4th place. Reuter has just this final lap to try and make his 5th place a 4th place. Championship points at stake, of course, for the championship leader. But this is going to be another Zack-Speed walkover, as it was in the first race here. The checkered flag is waiting, and here comes Klaus Ludwig to win for the 2nd time today. A delighted Zack-Speed Opel crew, because it's 1-2 for them again. Altsen has his second place, with JJ Leto taking the flag in 3rd place. Here's the battle for 4th, and it is Stuck who takes that 4th place. Manuel Reuter, as we see him in the cockpit, has to make do with 5th place, but more useful championship points, with Schneider, the first Mercedes home, in 6th place. And Klaus Ludwig made it all look so easy.
It's always the same. When you're leading, and it's easy. When you are fighting in the back, it's very, very tough. Today it was easy until 2 laps before the finish of the 2nd race. My car started to smoke, and I was really anxious that it would break down in the last lap, so I'm double pleased.
Well, that double victory has moved Klaus Ludwig up to 5th place in the championship. Manuel Reuter consolidating his lead, and Opels filling the top 5 places. Well, the German fans are getting a double helping of ITC, because we're off now to the Diepholz Air Base near Osnabrück for rounds 11 and 12. See you there.